And a good Wednesday morning, Quad Cities. It is 9 o'clock on Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. Welcome into Ask Andrew Live. I'm meteorologist Andrew Stutzky.
I'm weather anchor Peter Warner. We're back.
Yes. I'm not by myself anymore.
No. Oh my goodness, it's been a while.
It's been a fantastic week because I haven't had to talk to myself all week long back here. I've had you here. I've had Morgan here as well. And next week, our plan is all three of us will be back.
All three of us will be back.
So
Gang's back together.
Yeah, kind of back to normal. It got a little crazy, you know, Christmas time. Everybody's got to use up the PTO.
Yes.
Sickness going around too. So, but we're getting there.
We're getting there.
Yeah. I'm back in good health. You're in good health,
I'm
it
in
sounds
good health.
like.
Yeah, we're feeling great.
Knock on laminate, right?
I know.
Let's stay there. We want to welcome you guys in this morning. If you're not familiar with what this is, think of it as a live version of what I do during the week. If you guys have weather questions, we're going to answer them for you here live. And how to get us those questions? A couple of ways. If you're watching via the 8 Plus app on your smart television, see that number at the bottom of your screen, or actually full screen right now. Thank you, Matt. 309-304-0888. 309-304-0888. Third time's the charm. 309-304-0888. That is how you get us those questions in. If you're watching us on our Facebook stream, our Facebook live stream, you can also put a little message in the chat and we'll be able to see it there. So that's how you're going to ask your questions. Again, weather related only, please.
Yes.
Don't make it weird.
No.
We've had a couple of those at times, so we just kind of gloss over them. But we got a lot of topics to cover today. I know that you're going to talk about some cold, some snow, and every other place except here in the Quad Cities.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's the whole country. By the time we hit about Tuesday next week, could be seeing snow. Even parts of Arizona.
Which is crazy.
And New Mexico. But here, nah.
Nothing. Yes.
Sunshine.
I can't believe we're still in this big snow drought going on.
Crazy.
I'm disappointed because you're here and I wanted you to experience a true Midwest winter with all the snow and the cold and...
You know, I'm okay with the cold and maybe one big snow and then we can call it a day. I don't need too much beyond that. Maybe just get the experience in and then...
You don't want to dive in too deep in the first year, right?
Let's keep it just kind of simple. I'm not
Okay.
too mad about it.
Fair enough. We'll let you ease into the winter, and that's kind of what we're doing so far this season. So we're going to talk about that. Also recap our Ask Andrew question from today, too. And then, of course, there's plenty of time to take your questions. So let's dive in really quickly to what the question was today, and then we'll let Peter take over, and he'll show you what's going on in terms of where the snow is and where it's going to be going and all of that good stuff while we pull up the live streams here. The question today came from my good friend Marty. This is back in Sterling. Why are we in such a snow drought this winter so far? There is a very specific reason for what is going on. One of the factors that is now in progress is La Nina. Just last month, La Nina conditions were officially started. And if you're not familiar with La Nina, that is when you have cooler than average surface water temperatures in the East Pacific Ocean, right off of the coast of South America to the west of the coastline. And what that typically will do is it will put an area of high pressure well off the coast, the west coast here of the United States, the northwest coast. The problem with the setup right now is that high is further east than it would typically be, and that means the active jet stream with all the storm systems in it has been pushed further to the south than where it would typically be. So we're missing out on all of this snow. Instead, it's going south of us, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas even, Arkansas, Missouri. All those locations have seen more snow than we have. And the snow drought here is growing day by day. It's more than a foot into areas of Minnesota and Wisconsin and Iowa. Here we're getting close to about 10 inches for a snowfall deficit. And is this pattern going to change anytime soon? I don't see that yet. By the way, take a mental snapshot. This is what La Nina typically looks like. And you see that high pressure system way off the coast. The high we have going on right now, right over the mainland. And that's why that dip in the jet stream is not working in our favor. It's too far south, and that's where all of the storm systems are going. Notice the opposite, though. Typically in a La Nina winter, it's dry along the south coast. That hasn't been the case unless you're in the southwest. That remains true. But Dallas all the way through Atlanta, they've seen the snow, they've seen the rain, they've seen the ice. We have hardly seen anything here other than cold. So that is why this lackluster winter is still ongoing, if you're curious. By the way, I was looking at some of the other statistics too, and I don't think I threw it in my graphic list here, but we're now halfway through meteorological winter as of this week. And yeah, the snowfall deficit continues to grow. Do not give up though, because February can see a pattern change very quickly where you can get some blockbuster snows in here. So that's still a little glimmer of hope that I'm trying to hold on to. Otherwise, my snowfall prediction for the winter is going to go straight in the trash because I think James and I had the top 2 amounts. I think I did 32 or 33 inches.
Okay.
James had 35. Morgan and yourself, you had the lower numbers.
We had the lower numbers.
Yeah.
Morgan had a 25 even, just she said she's just kind of expecting not a lot, and she also likes a little bit less snow too.
Yeah.
So
And if this keeps on going, if this winter keeps going, she's going to win.
she's gonna win.
And you're not going to be far behind.
No, I had a 27.4, so not too far off.
No. And we could easily get, all you need is 2 big storm systems to make up those numbers.
I was gonna say
That's
we
all
could
you need.
have an
all you need.
early February storm, and we're kind of right back on track.
Yep, that's all it takes. That's all it takes. Somebody's calling me right now. It's from Davenport. We'll see if they leave a message. No, I will not give you my phone number. I'm sorry, I can't give that away.
Cannot.
We're going to keep checking and see what questions we have. We'll let those build up. But Peter, I know that you want to talk about a couple of things too that's coming up, including some new weather that's going to be happening and some snow. And fortunately not here.
Things, not too much going on. It's mainly to the East Coast. This is kind of just a quick little graphic to kind of show what's going to be happening as we get towards your weekend. A little bit of rainfall maybe potentially near St. Louis, but the big system this weekend that we will be tracking when it comes to travel is hitting mainly the Northeast. Just going to be like a pretty light snow system, a little bit of a clipper, you could almost say, coming up from Canada, impacting the Northeast. But you notice how near that West Virginia border there, it's just stopping right along that eastern border of West Virginia, just to the west of DC. That's just hitting a pocket of dry air. And it's just going to kind of stop there right along the Appalachians in West Virginia, then clear out by the time we get to the weekend. When it comes to snowfall, Michigan could be seeing some snowfall as we get towards the weekend. Upper portions of Wisconsin as well, trickling into Ohio. But again, mainly the big snowfall that we're going to be seeing is near Pittsburgh this weekend, 3 to 6 inches, and the Appalachians out in West Virginia as we get towards your Friday. But the big system, Andrew, we're talking about is coming next weekend after we get that big cold rush coming in, that Arctic Blitz. Take a look at this. There's going to be a little trough that's going to develop out near Denver, track its way down into Texas and meet up with some of that Gulf moisture near Dallas. And then Texas is going to be seeing, again, another little bit of snowfall near Houston. And then that's going to track its way towards Atlanta, bringing a little bit of some freezing rain. Here's that snowfall potential. Watch this. It's like a little bubble around us here in the Quad Cities. I mean, everywhere except us is going to be seeing some of this snowfall. Then that system's going to track its way further to the south. Look at that. Arizona, New Mexico, seeing potentially 3 to 6 inches near Albuquerque. We're not going to be seeing anything Tuesday next week. There's that snowfall near Houston, potentially 2 to 3 inches. This is the latest Euro run, so obviously we're a little bit a ways out, but this is just a general idea. It's been kind of following that path through the south again, giving us a little bit more snowfall to the south. So that's going to be really interesting to track next week when it comes to travel. But again, look at this bubble here.
This is the 2 things I noticed. First, the bubble. But if you advance your graphic a little bit more, is that snow touching near the Gulf Coast of Texas?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Look at that. Right along near that. I think that's near Baton Rouge almost. You could see a little bit of snowfall up there. Near Houston could be seeing snowfall. Yesterday, the Euro model one, that had about 3 to 6 inches in Houston, the Euro model run last evening. So
that to me is just a wow.
It's baffling.
And I think the last time, I think it was 2021, is when that Arctic air went all the way down to Texas.
Oh, yes.
You're talking about freezing the power grid. It froze the wind turbines. And they did indeed have snow. I believe it was close to Galveston Beach, where they had some snowfall.
Oh, yeah, I lived through that. That's when I was in school in Texas.
Was it 2021?
2021.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, where I was living on campus, pipes burst inside the house that I was living in. So we had to go live in the dorms for a few weeks because like that system at SMU's campus, we were virtual for 3 weeks because of that system and the power grid that went off. And we could, obviously this is early, but that could cause kind of a similar situation as we saw in 2021. Not as significant, but something definitely to keep an eye on when it comes to travel next week further to the south.
And it's also interesting too because, we watched the storm system earlier in the week and last week that did go through northern Texas and brought snow to Dallas, but this new one, if this trend holds, it's even further south.
Even further south.
Which is
mind-boggling.
Wow. Not good for Texas.
No, not good for Texas and their power grid. And the fact that Louisiana's getting snow and we're not.
They're not ready for that.
No.
Hopefully this changes and shifts a little bit further to the north. Yeah, but just kind of a telltale sign that, again, this pattern is not in any hurry to change, and those active storm systems will stay to the south. The only positive thing about remaining snow-free is that when we get these Arctic bursts of air like what we're seeing right now, it kind of limits them a little bit more. If we had a measurable snow on the ground of at least, say, 4, 5, 6 inches, the Arctic air would be much stronger here than what we're showing in the forecast. So there is some saving grace when it comes to not having snow on the ground right now. I know it's not great for the skiers, the snowmobilers, especially those of you that have a snow removal business this time of year. Not the best season for you, I know that. And hopefully things can turn around in February toward the tail end of it. We'll see how all of that's going to go. I think the only other thing I wanted to show you was I've had a lot of questions regarding what's going on with the California wildfires. Are we going to see the wildfire smoke here in the Quad Cities? The answer to that is no, we are not going to see that smoke, and I'll show you why here in a second. There's a reminder of the active wildfires. A couple of them now 100% contained, thank goodness, but still a lot of danger to come in the days ahead, because the Santa Ana winds are expected to continue as more storm systems take that southerly track. And when they do that, you get these differences in pressure that ramps up the wind right through Southern California, and that's exactly what they're going to be seeing in the next couple of days. But we're asking about smoke. Are we going to see smoke from that? So I want to show you our smoke tracker, if you will. And what I put on here, those lines that are moving across the screen, those are your upper level winds. So those are the winds that would carry the smoke. And if you look over parts of where those wildfires are at, down here in Southern California, the wind is going off the coast. It's going out to sea. So the wind is not heading in our direction. The only kind of wildfire smoke we're going to get here or get glanced by are some of the wildfires that are ongoing in Canada, in northwest Canada. That's going to shimmer its way down here. But anything that's going on in Los Angeles, California, we are not going to see that smoke. Any of it that would get entered into the atmosphere, if you follow what we call our streamlines here, it goes around this area of low pressure, and then it goes right south of us on this really strong jet stream. It bypasses our area completely. So no concerns about smoke here, no concerns about air quality here due to those California wildfires. We are not going to see it here in the Quad Cities, so no worries about that.
It's crazy that area of high pressure and low pressure, again, they're just so strong. That's going to be bringing those winds.
Yeah, I mean, and it's all because that area of high pressure is further inland than it typically would be. And that's the concern that they have, that remains a consistent threat for California, not just this week, but this pattern, should it stay here for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary what's going on out there right now. Do we have any questions coming in that we can answer?
A good group of them.
Hey.
We'll start with this fun one. This one is interesting, from Kelly in Rock Falls. Can our world's weather patterns today be related to the 1961 bomb dropped in the Arctic Circle?
Oh my goodness, I'll have to read about that. I didn't even know we dropped a bomb in the Arctic Circle.
Either.
That's interesting.
Learn something new every day.
I will say weather patterns are cyclical. You can see things repeat themselves.
Yes.
And that's why we go back and look at other historic storms as an analog, if you will. Like, for example, when we were making our winter forecast, we went back and looked at years that had similar conditions at the start of the season to try and help predict us where we were going to go into the future. As you can see from my prediction, that's not working out too well right now. Again, winter's not over. We can make that up in February, but it goes to show you that every season has its own flavor.
Has its own flavor.
Even if you start off with the same conditions as a season before. I will research that, and I will get back to you, because I don't know enough about that topic to answer that question, you know, what am I trying to say? Confidently.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. That's a fun one to research.
That is a good question, though. I might add that to my pile for Monday, for Monday's question.
That would be fun.
Certainly when you're talking about large amounts of energy like a bomb, depending on how big that was. Did they say what kind of bomb it was?
No, just a bomb.
Okay. If you're talking about like an atomic bomb, a nuclear bomb, that's a lot of energy, and that can shift things for sure.
Especially with that polar vortex up there. Because we're seeing that weak polar vortex, and we've seen what's happened so far this year.
Yes. Oh, yes.
What's going to come on Monday and Tuesday.
I don't even want to talk about it. And you notice I haven't talked about it. I've glossed right over it.
Yeah. I don't know if we
Nobody wants to talk about it.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, we'll get back to you. That's a good question.
Yes. From Jim in Davenport, what causes the sudden temperature drops we often see? Speaking of that, in this area during the winter. Speaking of that polar vortex.
Polar vortex has a part to play. Now, the polar vortex itself does not visit us here in the Quad Cities. What happens is the polar vortex has little children that dance around it. So you think about an area of low pressure with all these little mini lows around it. And once in a while, one of those lows will get rambunctious, get away from the parent or mom or dad and start racing away. And that's what happens when you have a weak polar vortex. The other reason you get the big temperature swings this time of year is a couple of things. One is what's going on at the ground. We're snow free for the most part. We don't have a snowpack on the ground right now.
No, we do not.
So that means on sunny days, that bare ground, which is brown in color for most of us, really dark color, absorbs more heat energy from the sun versus if we had snow on the ground that would reflect it out and away. The other thing, and we noticed this morning, the dew point temperatures this time of year are low.
We saw some in the negatives.
And that means it's very dry. The air is really dry. And what do we say about dry air, especially in the summertime? If it's dry as a bone, you get those huge temperature swings. You can have really cool mornings, cool nights, and really warm, really hot afternoons. The winter is no different.
No. And we're going to be kind of seeing that in the next coming days.
We are, yes. I mean, you look at Thursday, Friday forecast, and then the bottom drops out early next week. So all that dry air and the lack of the snow on the ground really destabilizes the temperature pattern.
It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, that's a great question.
It is a great question.
I love it.
From Gayla in Moline. When we see snow on radar, but nothing falls to the ground, what's happening?
So what you're experiencing there is a phenomenon known as virga. And I'm going to do a quick search because I may have a scene on this. It's not with snow, but it's with rain. But you know what? It's honestly the same
It is the same thing.
process. Wouldn't you know it? I do have a scene on that. So we can show you what's going to happen here. Let's let it, you know what? Oh, the picture's gone.
Aw.
Darn it. So we did a system update and we've been cleaning out some files.
Yes.
And it looks like one of those files that we took out was this beautiful picture that Corey Marshall sent me of some virga that was going on. But let me see if I can explain this maybe without the use of the picture because it's not going to come up, unfortunately. This pretty much sums it up.
Yeah.
If you were to take kind of a snapshot of the atmosphere, this is what happens. So you've got snow in the clouds, obviously. And then as we were just talking about the dry air here at the ground, the dew point below zero, single digits, bone dry. Yeah. That snow evaporates before it hits the ground. And that's what the radar is picking up. You have to remember when the radar is looking into the clouds that the earth is curved and the radar beam, as you go further out from the radar, gets higher. So what it's doing is the farther away from the radar you get, it's scanning into the middle of the cloud rather than close to the ground. And a lot of times it's picking up the snow here, but that snow hits dry air and it doesn't reach the ground. The easiest way to determine if that's happening, by the way, if the radar is full of snow, but there's a hole in the middle like a donut, the snow's not reaching the ground.
Exactly.
Once that donut hole fills in on the radar, right here in the Quad Cities, then the snow's hitting the ground.
And we saw an example of that, I think it was 1 weekend ago or 2 weekends ago. I actually had a viewer from Burlington. So we saw that on the radar further to the south when we were tracking that system that was making its way south. But I was like, yeah, and we're seeing this on the radar. I had to remind him, we don't know if it's hitting the ground because those temperatures we're seeing right now, that dry air, we saw that. I had a viewer message me from Burlington. He's like, yeah, we aren't seeing anything yet. Radar indicated it, but they saw nothing.
Yeah, prime example of that. And you're going to see it. You're going to see it on our radar. You're going to see it on your Storm Track 8 app. You will see it looks like it's snowing in your location. But if you take a good distance out, zoom your radar out, if you see that hole of nothing going on in the Quad Cities, that's where you'll end up seeing the virga happening, which is what we call this virga, that snow evaporating before it hits the ground. Got to fill in the radar hole first.
Got to fill that in.
Great question.
That is a great question. Gerald in Bettendorf, why do we sometimes have more snow in March than in January, even though it's colder earlier in the season?
Yes, so the March snow systems, those can get very, very rambunctious.
Yes.
And the main reason for that is, think about the temperature difference from January to March. In January, our temperature patterns are pretty stable. I'll show you that here right now. We'll pull up what the temperature pattern is going to look like here for the next several days. And I'm going to zoom this out. because what you're going to notice is in January, we don't have big contrasts in temperature or big changes. If you want to see a big change in temperature, you got to go all the way down to the southeast United States, where you go from really warm in Florida to really cold in Atlanta, Georgia. Here in the Midwest, it's cold everywhere. It is cold by some magnitude everywhere. In March, what happens is that warm air begins to work its way further to the north. So this temperature difference that we see right here over Florida becomes closer and closer to us here in the Quad Cities. And to get a strong storm system, you need a very, very strong what we call temperature gradient, or a big difference in temperature. The bigger difference in temperature you have, the stronger the storm system will likely get.
Yes.
And you know those temperature swings we get in March. We've had days where we've gone up to the 60s, days we've gone up to the 70s, and then right behind it, we've had a blizzard.
Yep.
We've had Marches where we've had a tornado, and then right behind it, we've had a blizzard. So March is a much more volatile month because of the swings in temperature that you get there. You don't have too many swings in temperatures in January.
No.
It's a pretty even month.
Yes. We're seeing lots of swings this week, but nothing compared to those temperatures that you would need to say for that gradient to see that kind of storm.
Exactly. And that's kind of why I like the month of March. I mean, January and February, unless you're a fan of winter, are pretty, eh.
Yeah.
But if you're a fan of getting a big storm system in here, whether it be some stronger winds, we got a lot of wind advisories we usually have in March because of that, or you're just wanting to see some thunderstorms, or you want a really wet, heavy snow event that often includes thunder snow, March is your month.
It is.
That is when we usually see that.
It's kind of fun.
I'm excited for you to see that.
us.
I hope
Yeah.
it pans out. It's a
I
typical
wouldn't mind
March.
thunderstorm. That's not too bad for me. That's fun. That'd be fun
Yeah.
to forecast too.
We got to get you your Jim Cantori moment.
I know.
Everybody deserves one of those, right? It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Mark my words. In the next
is gonna
2 years, it's going to happen.
It will. It will. So next one, let's see. We'll go down, skip to Garrett in Burlington. Are there specific weather conditions that make it more likely for fog to form in the winter? It feels foggier in the winter seasons than other seasons.
And he's right. That is
100% right.
so true. I may have a thing on this here, too, because we actually talked about fog not that long ago. Can you guess what one of the biggest factors of fog is in the winter?
Let's guess.
I'm giving him a pop quiz because you're going to school for right now.
I am.
For the core of the meteorology stuff. So this is a pop quiz. What do you think leads to fog?
It's the colder temperature, ground temperatures with the warmer air moving over it, causing the evaporation and that thick fog. That's what it typically is seen.
A plus, young man.
That's what we saw when we had those weather impact alerts in late December.
Exactly.
Because we had those cold ground temperatures, we started to get cooled off. Then we get those little warm spells, and that caused that fog to develop.
You are exactly right. Yep, you get a gold star. If I had a gold star sticker, I'd pop it right on you there. Yeah, he's exactly right. The fog, especially in the wintertime, deals with that difference in temperature. You've got a cold ground, you've got the warm air above it. Also, too, don't forget you also have not a lot of mixing going on in that layer either. So there's not a lot of wind churning up things, and that is what we look for in fog formation. We would get a lot of fog, especially now if we had snow on the ground, especially with these warmer temperatures later this week.
Oh, my goodness.
Thursday and Friday would be the perfect setup for fog if we actually had more snow on the ground. But right now, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. But yeah, you need the moisture, snowfall, or the cold ground. The calm winds, clear skies, that's what's going to get you that air full of water vapor, 100% relative humidity. That equals the fog. And you're going to notice that you're going to see more of that fog as we get closer into spring, especially if we keep up this cold snap, because that ground is still going to remain fairly cold for a while.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, that's what's allowed us to even get a little bit of accumulation on the roads. Why we put out that impact alert a couple days ago. It's because even the concrete now in the streets are pretty dang frozen.
Yeah, it's amazing how we went from, no problems with the pavement temperatures, but now that it's been cold so long, it's now a factor. It's a huge factor.
Yeah, it's been a chilly start to January. One of the coldest Januaries nationally on record as of right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's been freezing.
Not an ordinary winter, that's for sure.
No. It's keeping us on our toes, though. It's fun for us.
I do appreciate that, yeah.
It's fun.
Something to study.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Francis and Geneseo. I know, Geneseo. Can it snow even when the temperature is slightly above freezing?
It can, yes. And the reason for that, I might have another graphic on that too. That was an Ask Andrew question, I think, when I first started.
Oh, really?
This whole series, as we talked about how you can get snow when it's above freezing. It might take me a second to find it, but I know I did talk about how that is possible. The question is, did it save it? You know, it was so long ago.
Really?
The short explanation as to why you can see snow when the temperature is above freezing on the ground is because just above us, yeah, it's much colder.
All that matters is, well, not all that matters, but truly what you keep an eye on is those upper level of the atmosphere. If you have the colder temperatures there and that gradient, and even in the atmosphere, if you have those colder temperatures, say at 500 millibars,
Yep.
that allows for that snow to make its way down. And if we're just above that freezing mark, that still allows that snow to make its way down to the ground. While it might melt quickly, we can still see the flurries in those conditions. So all matters about the atmospheric temperatures too. So even if the ground temperature is, say, 34 degrees, at 500 millibars or 500 meters above the ground, that temperature could be at 30 degrees, and that allows that snowfall to drop rather than rainfall when a system treks through.
You said it perfectly. And I still haven't found the graphic, by the way. That's how long it's been since I made that graphic. It's buried way down at the bottom of my archives. I thought I named it something similar, snow above free. Nope, that's not what I named it. But you explained it beautifully. It always doesn't have to be 32 degrees or cooler. I've seen it snow when it's 40.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot of the Arizona snowfall that we saw back home, even just to a little bit in the northern portions of the Phoenix area. Once you get to like the mountainous regions, it's 40 degrees out, but you'll still see snow coming down.
Yeah.
Just because the air above is colder, especially by the mountains.
Exactly. Something we don't have to worry about here, thankfully. But,
No.
But still.
We still see that temperature gradient here, even without the mountains. So, very interesting.
It is cool.
We got in Austin and Galesburg, do snowstorms sometimes stall over certain areas?
I can't say that I've ever seen a snowstorm stall, especially because this time of year you're dealing with a lot of a stronger wind field.
That's true.
The jet stream tends to be a lot stronger. Those type of systems, unlike the areas of low pressure you can get in the summer that stall out,
Yes.
these don't, because they tend not to get cut off from the flow aloft.
No.
It can slow down a little bit, but I can't say that I've ever seen a winter storm system stall out or quit moving.
No.
They're very progressive in nature.
They are,
Yeah.
which makes it a lot nicer.
Yes.
Less, big accumulation, which is good.
Exactly, because I couldn't imagine a winter storm stalling out for a period of like 3 or 4 days over the
that'd
same
be
area.
crazy.
Granted, it's going to dissipate. You're not going to see heavy snow all 3 days, but still, you'd be dealing with the wind and some of the other effects. Yeah, I can't say I've seen that happen.
Wouldn't be too great.
Too progressive.
No. Mary Induit, how does the weight of heavy wet snow impact roofs?
Great question.
That is a great question.
And it really does. So the first thing is you have to look at the type of snow that's falling. Did it fall when the air was really, really cold, like temperatures in the teens or the 20s? Or did it fall when the air was close to freezing in the 30s? If it's close to freezing, you're in trouble.
That's when you get that wet, thick stuff.
Yeah. I think most people will agree, a 6-inch, even a foot of heavy snow, most structures can tolerate that. Now, we've seen in the past some older structures have some issues with that.
Yep.
Because all that weight gets heavy.
It does.
But I think when you're talking, maybe 1.5 feet, 2 feet of heavy snow on your roof, you will start to see people going out, getting on the roof, shoveling it off because they're fearful that it could collapse. But yeah, it all depends on the snow type.
Yes.
Wet heavy will get you in trouble.
And it's all about that temperature gradient, just like if we're going to see snowfall, all about the temperature gradient as well.
Exactly. Yeah, good question.
That's
Very
a good question.
Either way, if you're concerned, we have a whole host of contractors across the Quad Cities. In fact, one of them that is sponsoring us now, the Ask Andrew Live. So if you're ever in doubt, you could always call up a contractor of your choice and see what they have to say.
It's always
That's
better.
always a possibility.
Always better to ask.
Yes, because you don't want your roof falling in.
No,
We don't wish that on anybody. That's
do
not
not.
a fun time. No.
we do not.
We have 1 minute
We have
left.
one more question maybe we can get through.
Yes.
Bill from Milan, what is the largest hailstone to ever hit the Quad Cities? That is a fantastic question.
Largest hailstone to hit the Quad Cities. Well, I can tell you since I've been here in 2018, I believe the largest hailstone that I saw was either grapefruit or tennis ball size to come across our storm reports
Wow.
app. I don't think we've had anything, basketball sized or what do they call it, vinyl record size, I think is the largest one.
Okay.
Stone, the National Weather Service, they have all these different names. They call some of them teacups.
Teacups, yes.
Um,
I've seen golf ball size.
Yep.
That was, I think, the biggest since I've started, but I kind of missed severe season where I saw golf ball size in one portion. I think it was in Iowa City.
Yeah, it's a DVD and a CD. That's the largest hail by the National Weather Service. Look at me trying to put a vinyl record out there. Could you imagine? There's nobody surviving a vinyl record size piece of hail. But yeah, I would say for me, at least since I've been here, it's been the baseball, the softball size hail is the biggest I've seen.
Yeah.
It's a great question.
It is.
I'm going to dig into it some more because I'm sure there's some other reports there too. But now we're 9:30. We're out of time.
We're out of time.
But no worries. We are going to be back right here next Wednesday, right here on the WQAD 8+ app. You guys have a fantastic Wednesday. We'll see you later this morning coming up on GMQC at 11.